Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Shift Happens, a series of interviews with speakers from various psychology fields. The intention with this series is to get students and psychology enthusiasts connected with professionals and experts from various psychology fields so that with the aim of diversifying the psychology field and understanding these fields, what it needs to get into these fields, what are the challenges and how to cope with them, so that you get interested in these fields. And then if you're interested in them, then you can take it up as a profession and we can provide different kind of varied psychology services in India. And I am very glad that today we have one such expert in sports psychology, Varadayini Gorhe. Thank you so much for joining us, Varadayini.
Hey, thanks,
Um,
Trupti, for inviting me. That's it's always a pleasure to talk. Thanks.
Thank you so much. So, just to briefly introduce, I'm sure that it's 13 years of experience, and there's a long journey that we can discuss in today's session. But just to briefly introduce you to our audience today, you have completed your master in from Loughborough in
Laughter. Yeah.
2012,
Yeah.
Loughborough,
Yeah.
from 2000,
Yes.
in 2012, after which you have worked in this field for almost 13 years. You are the founder of Think First Performance
Yeah.
Consulting.
Mine first. Yeah. Yeah.
As oh, I'm so sorry, Mind First Performance Consulting, and you are a co-founder of INSPA Sports Association, right? You have been working with athletes, coach, sports persons in developing their performance and helping them use psychology to improve their performance in this field, I believe, right? And I'm pretty sure that so Vardhani has been active in not only developing the sports psychology field, because I'm pretty sure in 2012 it was in its beginning stages. You have also kind of worked in developing and shaping the field, the ethics in the field, as well as I am hearing that you have also developed protocols. I'm going to come to this, which is mental health protocols to help the sports person, coach, and parents as well.
Yeah.
So glad to have you here.
Thanks,
And
Trupti. Thank you.
throughout the interview, I think through our questions, maybe we would like to understand the field, understand maybe your journey in the field, so that students and professionals can understand it better, right?
Great. Yes. Great. Good to go. Yeah. Happy to start. Perfect.
Thank you so much. Okay, so just one kind request to our participants. Please keep your video off so that it helps us record this session smoothly. We are going to open up the session at some point for a question and answer so that you can directly interact with Vardhani, and at that time you can ask your queries, your questions and doubts to her. Okay, so let's start maybe few basic questions that I think most of our audience will must be thinking about. So first question from my side, how did you get into this field of sports psychology?
Okay. So, all right. So let's start. This was way back when I was in college. So I did my bachelor's in psychology from DG Ruparel College, Mumbai, and I was there for all my 5 years, so 11th, 12th, and my bachelor's. And of course, I think until first year, I was even not even sure that I'll do my bachelor's in psychology. It was maybe economics. I was inclined to do something around that. But I think second year I started, gaining more interest, especially social psychology was something that caught my attention, and it stuck through. Plus, I think the combination of that and like a philosophy class, I think it also gave me certain, inclinations to start reading up more. And that's when I started linking my interest, which has been sports. So I wasn't a very professional player, but I used to play badminton in school, and I had picked up basketball when I was in college. So would play at YMCA, which was closer to my house, and like after college, go home and like thrice a week go and play at YMCA. So that's when I started, kind of connecting social psychology to sport, and we had a very lovely professor called Dr. Neeta Tatke, who was the then professor at my college, and of course later on the HOD. She was the one who told me like, oh, you know what, you can do your masters in sports psychology. We did have a past student from Ruparel who actually did her master's in exercise psychology and kinesiology, and she had come down for a guest lecture as well at that time, and that's when I started, gaining a inclination that no, I want to do this. This is something what I really want to do. In fact, for the fact that after my bachelor's, I took a gap year to just think through it. क्योंकि तभी, it was not like a big deal that time. No one actually spoke
Mm,
much about
mm,
sports psychology. So I took a gap year, tried to figure, and then my dad also was like, if you want to get into psychology, you should do something like that, because no one is doing it. So, might as well do it. And my parents actually pushed me to go and study abroad. They're like, come on, we just go and get this done, because like I
mm.
just said, no one was doing it back then. So yeah, that was the initial push. Maybe I would thank Dr. Tatke to actually introduce me to the field as well. Yeah.
Right, great. And I think that was the start of this career,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yes.
Uh, I'm hearing that it was that encouragement and the push that you got from different people, especially Dr. Tatke, from to kind of get into the field. And I'm glad that you had that guidance, because that's where, we have you here right now with this
Yes.
experience right now. Okay, so I mean, I'm thinking because very few of us know about how the career goes and what does, what does a sports psychologist usually do in the field. uh, can we understand currently what you're involved in and what your profile looks like?
Sure. I think like right after my master's, I was back in India. I wanted to, get back and work here itself. But like you rightly said, it was, a very clueless field. And even today, I would say 13 years later, I think a lot has changed in sports. But I think the field is still at that stage wherein, we have a lot of opinions, a lot of things happening, a lot of
Hmm.
areas that could be explored in the field of sports psychology. So today, right now, I think I'm doing a lot of things. I'll be very honest. Like, when I think of it, I'm like, okay, I think I need to just cut out a few things, and but then, then it's like, okay, I have to do this at some point. So yeah, I think it's just like, of course, one-on-one counseling sessions with athletes is primary. But currently, I'm also involved in a lot of work with the coaches and with organizations at a level wherein we plan sessions, and then, even help younger sports psychologists execute it as well. So that's my current job, and I'm doing this through my consulting with Nudge Sports, because they are involved in quite a few organizational developmental work, and of course in sports. And I am also teaching at times, like,
Mhm.
part time, like visiting faculty at Symbiosis right now. I also did a stint at Manipal University, both in the sports
Mhm.
science department. Again, something what I feel, we can still develop, like I
Hmm.
said, when we were discussing earlier. I think education is something what I am definitely keen on, but I'm not a full-time educationist. I don't want to get into full-time academia, because I think practice is also something what I enjoy thoroughly. So yes, right now I am involved in these three, I would say, roles. Also give some time to writing. So that's also something
Hmm.
what I am doing, and with the thing that, okay, I might write more, I guess, in the next couple of years, hopefully. So that's what I'm currently doing.
I'm glad to hear that, because I'm kind of understanding from my perspective also, of course. But I think it's great to see a professional not only trying to keep the practice alive, because I think you and I would, I mean, all of us would
Yeah,
understand this, that practicing is important to understand also when you educate the future generation. And I'm glad to see that you're also getting into education and writing, because that would, I think, help you disseminate the field more and reach out and I think grow this
yeah.
field, because I'm seeing, I think I'm hearing what you're telling me, and I think you are actively involved in growing this field in India. isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah, I hope I am. Yeah, but yes, it's just yeah, like I said, I think last 5 years have been like, there's been a lot of changes in the ecosystem.
Hmm.
I would
Hmm.
speak from a sports ecosystem as well as a psychology ecosystem in India. Sports also, I
Hmm.
think, people have been speaking, people have been active viewers in Olympics. So, the whole thing has been like, kind of a change, and because of which I think actively there's a lot of changes happening in the educational sector. There are courses coming out which are sports psychology specific, or even I think
Hmm.
to be very very specific, it's more also in sports science. Sports management has been there for some time, and there have been quite some good premier institutes that are investing in education
Hmm.
as well. So I think the whole
Hmm.
scenario per se has changed over the last. I think COVID was like a game changer, I would say, even for mental health, of course. So, like speaking of athletes, the first thing comes off, oh yeah, mental health. How is the mental health and so on. So, and I think also credit to a lot of athletes who come and speak about mental health right now. So I think this
Hmm.
all these things possibly have changed the field quite a bit, and it's a sudden spurt, I would say, in the last 5 years that we've seen a lot of people graduating in the field of sports psychology, not only from India but also from abroad, and coming back and trying to start something by
Hmm.
themselves. So yes, that's how things have been, and I think hence I feel there's a lot that can be done, apart from just
Hmm.
practice, which
Hmm.
I think will set a lot of tones and tonalities for the next decade or so. Yeah.
Correct. And I think then we are glad that we are kind of connecting you to our audience, our students, future generation of the psychologists that are out there, because they would also get these opportunities to get into this field. And then, it's like there is a lot of scope for development over here. So this brings me to this question, as to, I know that currently in this at this level in your career, you're kind of involved in diverse roles and profiles. But if we have to kind of narrow it down to, if you've once you've finished your graduation in sports psychology, right?
Yeah.
What does the beginning profile or opportunities, look like for the psychologist? I mean, what does their day look like? What are their, you know, tasks that they will be
Yeah.
taking up?
Great question, I think, and it's very important to have some clarity on this as well, because again, like I'll divide this question into two parts. Okay, first part is students who are graduating from Indian universities. I think the universities that offer sports psychology as a master's already have like a setup on sports in their universities. I'll give you example of Punjab University, which is in Chandigarh, or we have like National Sports University, which is in Imphal. They have sports as a setup within their university. So, a lot of the students have started getting exposed to athletes right from their master level. All right. So post that, many of them start getting integrated into government roles, which are within the university. For example, Sports Authority of India, and so on. And mostly the roles, I would say, from my perspective and my understanding, I might be wrong at times, but I feel is, of course, shadowing a senior sports psychologist who's around, or doing basic intake sessions with athletes, and like going possibly with particular sports, and just getting set into that system, but at under someone's guidance. And I hope that's happening, to be honest, because that's
Mm,
something what even I'm trying to find out and trying to understand what is a culture of supervision in India. But I would say that post masters, definitely whatever your interest or inclination is, either private practice, which I started off with, like just starting with whatever I can, like a freelance, as just to call it,
mm,
like a freelance sports psychologist, or if you want to get into a team. Now that's also has its own challenges, own things, but then whatever it is, I think the first thing what you need to find is a supervisor. That's something what I would say. They could be either from a psychology background or a specific sports psychology background, because we have quite a few who have almost 8 years plus experience right now in India. So it's not like they haven't had the experience. So it's good to get a mentor at least, to guide you through the field, and then select what you are actually good at. So maybe it's a private practice, or you want to work with government organizations, with teams. Private organizations as well are hiring sports psychologists now. So but
Mm,
yeah, I mean, that's one thing what I would say. Secondly, then there is a crop of sports psychologists who are graduating from foreign universities and coming back. um,
mm,
Here, what is the challenge I would say is most of them are already exposed to some kind of supervision there, or supervised practice, and the importance of it.
mm,
But many of them come back and think, should I do the supervision which is existing in the UK or in the US? Will it be valid in India,
mm,
and so on? Okay. But I think for both, I would say one very good thing is like you need to start supervised practice as soon as you get out of your master's. It shouldn't be something
mm,
you do by yourself, because that's where the challenge comes in. That's where I guess I've seen a lot of violations that come by, ethical violations and
mm,
so on. So I think that's something what I also did. I did not have like a
mm,
sports psychologist, but I worked with a mental trainer who was working with a shooting team. And I was associated with him for almost 2 years of my initial career, which helped me a lot. Like, it helped me
mm.
take so many challenges up, to be honest, and even, get through a lot of challenges as well. So definitely that's something what I would say, will help. Yeah.
Correct. Okay. So few things that I'm getting from this is that one, there are multiple opportunities out there in the field, both in the private sector as well as government sector. The recommendation is, of course, to get the supervision and get, the clear understanding of how to work in the field, not just
Yeah.
rely on your theoretical training
Yes.
that is there. Would you recommend that the supervision has to be or should be rather in the same kind of an environment or the country that you have trained yourself in? Like for somebody, I mean, in terms of clinical or,
Yeah.
psychotherapy rather, right? We always say culture matters and,
Yes.
which country you practice matters, the
Yeah.
environment matters. Does that matter as well for sports psychology as well?
Definitely. I think I would say if you want to practice, say, for example, in the UK, but you're back for some years in the India, but you really want to go
Mm,
back to the UK and practice, I would definitely recommend doing, UK supervisor role, or
mm,
supervisor method. But they also have chartership in the UK. So after your master's, you can't even anyway work as a sports psychologist. They need to undergo like a rigorous training for two
mm,
years from the British Psychological Society, or like the BASIS, which is British Association of Sports and Exercise Science. Now
mm,
that is something wherein supervision is compulsory. So if you don't
okay.
present the R's to them, you're not going to get your certification, and that's something what I feel. Yes, hopefully it will come to India sometime, but that's something what I feel matters, especially when you want to work in that country. And Also, I think secondly, like you rightly said, culturally relevant practices. Even in
Mm,
India, I would recommend you to have a profile of the one who you want to go and supervise with, before just randomly applying to all, these things, like, places that you want to get your internship under, because the connection with the supervisor, that's one thing, but also their experience. So if suppose I want to work in a team environment, I'm more,
mm,
comfortable working in team sports, and I work
mm,
with a supervisor who's only in private practice, I don't think that will sync, right? So you
mm,
need to also
right.
find that part, like, where exactly this person has worked.
Mm,
Would they have any kind of experience with a team? If they do, then, is it that they are focusing more on the culture of the team or the leadership, what exactly it is? So I think it's similar to what you do for your PhD, right? You will not try to randomly assign like a
yeah,
supervisor to
yeah,
yourself. So it's the same thing. Yeah.
correct. And I think we heard it from other experts as well that take your time, think about what is relevant for you going forward, and then choose the experience and then choose the training that you're going to go for.
Yeah.
I think that's very, very helpful. Okay, so since you spoke about, and I think this is very big question, or question about sports psychology that I regularly hear
Yeah.
is where is the training happening for sports psychology, right? So
Yes.
could you tell us about few universities and
Sure.
courses that are available?
Okay, so I think over the last, like I said, 5, 6, or even 10 years, I think things have changed in the landscape of education. Currently, I would say a master's in sports psychology, a proper UGC approved, is happening in Guru Nanak Dev University, Amritsar. There is a specialized course in Punjab University that happens, but it's not a master's per se. So you have a master's in psychology, but you can do your projects in sports psychology and so on that way. Coming a bit to the northeast, you have National Sports University at Imphal, which actually provides a master's in sports psychology, like a proper recognized degree. You have LJNU, which is at Gwalior, which is Rani Lakshmibai Institute of Physical Education. They do have a degree in physical education with a specialization in sports psychology. So that's technically not a degree in psychology. So you have a MPED, basically an MPED in sports psychology. Then you have another university called Sri Ram Chandra University, which is in Chennai. They are one of the leading, I would say, sports psychology degree providers, and they do have like a proper lab and so on. And so is JNDU. JNDU, which is in Amritsar, has I think one of the longest running degrees in master in sports psychology degrees. Coming to like some specialized courses, post masters also a lot of people do specializations or like a diploma, recognized diploma. So Jain University Bangalore does have like a postgraduate diploma in sports psychology, which is a year-long course, in-person course in sports psychology. And NIS Patiala, which is National Institute of Sport Patiala, they have proper on-field 1 year diplomas for psychology students. After their masters, you can do like a proper diploma in sports psychology through there and also get employed, in fact, into the government part. So yeah, this is currently the scenario I know. I know sports science has been offered in multiple places like Symbiosis Pune, Manipal University, Udupi, which is Manipal, but it's there's no specialization in sports psychology per se there. Yeah.
Right, right. Understood. Okay, so there could be two parts. One is master's, which is directly into sports psychology. Secondly, there could be specialized courses that are relevant to psychology and sports science or physical
Yeah.
education to kind of, combine both the fields and then build your career
Yeah.
in this field,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? I'm
Sorry, I can't.
Yeah, just sorry, just give me 1 second. Yeah, sorry about that.
No
Okay,
problem.
so correct. So I'm kind of understanding that again, just like opportunities are there, there are also training opportunities and training avenues that are there available for the students.
Yeah.
Okay, so this really helps. I think all the information that you're giving right now is going to help the students get into this field, and I think give this some chance. And I'm pretty sure that since you've been in this field, and we are talking about a field that is growing right now, is developing right now, but I'm pretty sure that it has its own challenges,
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
Oh,
And as the field sounds, it sounds very, very like, very lucrative and because sports is lucrative as such, like,
yes.
whatever we see, very glamorous, I would also say, like, a lot of people want to get in because of that glamour factor. But trust me, it's nothing like that because all of us work at the back end. Okay, and we are providers of a small part. I always tell this to the athletes, in fact the students that I interact with. We are a small part of that jigsaw puzzle that the athlete is doing. We are also not doing it.
Mhm.
So we are trying to fuel that into the system. The challenge is definitely, let's start with the basic. I think a lot of people find it's a lucrative field. It's like you earn a lot. Um trust me, it's not that lucrative. Although I think things have like changed over the last few years. There are steady jobs available. Initially, it used to just be a project basis, even from the government, saying okay, a 3-month project, a 4-month project, and so on. Just before the Olympics, just before the Asian Games, we put you on a 3-month camp or a 1-month camp. Which used to be like small projects. But now I think, at least thanks to I think a lot of initiatives that the government has taken on, Kelo India, or like setting up centers for national excellences, and so on in multiple cities. There have been opportunities wherein high performance centers need sports psychologists full time. So right now, most of them are employing sports psychologists like on a full time basis with a good, decent salary as well. So yeah, so that's a great news, I would say. But yet challenges include finding these opportunities at the right time. I think that's, like you rightly said, you need to have a lot of patience to just get through these opportunities. We can't say that okay, I just graduated, I have a master's, and then I'm going to land up into like a very handsome paying salaried job, either with a private institute, or like a lot of people think IPL mein job milega. It's not that easy. In fact, IPL, I don't think none of the IPL teams even employ like full-time psychologists. So like just yeah, like just put that dream away for the moment. But yeah, I think it's just that, like people think it's a very like glamorous field, but I don't think it is. We make it glamorous by coming on social media talking about the field, but it's not that. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of coordination. It's a lot of thought around how ethics impacts my practice, because I think we are one of the fields wherein we actually don't have sessions just across the table. As a psychologist, we are always either in locker rooms, sit with the player on the sidelines. So then, a lot of concerns come around ethics. How do we manage it? And we have to be a little more mindful on that. So, because I've seen many of the younger ones who are not mindful, it does impact the relationship. It impacts the way, the whole, say, confidentiality is managed, everything.
Right.
So
Yeah.
definitely, I think the second bit of practicing implications are challenges in professional ethics, professionalism per se as well, because again, it comes to how much do I disclose to the journalist. If I'm talking about a player, I shouldn't be talking about a player to a journalist. In short, but we see people talking about it. So is that okay? These things definitely are something, professional challenges are that need to be thought on. And that's where I say, okay, the field over you is something what you need to always keep in mind. Like you need to put the field first and then put you as a professional. So yeah, these are professional challenges. I think lastly, I would say the lack of, even supervised practice, like I said earlier. We do have few senior sports psychologists now, like, senior by senior, I mean 8 years plus experiences at least. But there's a challenge. There's a dearth of having established supervision or supervisors in the field in India. So that's also another challenge, I would say. And also, I think the lack of the fact that okay, post masters you have to have mandatory supervised practice. I think that also is something what has to come from people who are actually providing jobs. So say for right now, I would say, like, after almost so many years that that I'm in the field, last 2 years I've been seeing at least the government jobs that come out are saying sports psychology masters. Initially, it used to just be masters in any field, and then they used to
Correct.
call them mental trainers or like sports psychologists and so on. So at least that changes are visible, and then hopefully in a few years it's going to be like with supervised practice. So that, yeah. So those things I would say are a challenge. Um, just last one point, which I feel is also a challenge, which I think I think we're slowly overcoming, is the trust in the field as well from the sports fraternity. Because a lot of the coaches don't believe in the fact that okay, I need to hire a sports psychologist, or a lot of the teams feel that oh, that's not mandatory, let's do that the last minute or something like that. So I think that is another challenge, where exactly I feel things have improved. Like I
Mm,
said, thanks to a lot of initiatives from the government as well as non-governmental organizations who are doing a lot for the athletes, but
mm,
also from the fact that, okay, coach education is something which we still are, a very iffy part of the whole thing. So I think,
mm,
yeah, those are, I would say, the few initial challenges that are associated with the professionalism also, and also
mm.
within the initial few years wherein you might not find like a steady job as such. Yeah,
Right, right,
yeah.
correct. And following that, then any recommendations as to, rather than a recommendation, I think I would like to understand how you dealt with it. So, any recommendations while you deal with this challenge is something that you would have used in the field.
Sure. So, like I said earlier, one thing, definitely get a mentor or a supervisor, which I think helped
Right.
me so much.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, I think don't never discount or like discontinue education in the form of continued education as well, because I think there's quite a few things happening in the field, not only in sports psychology, but even if you are working within the field, you can also do some awareness development or educational development in the field of sports science, for example. So that because you usually always work with a team, you're working with the sports science team. So it's always good to have continued education going on side by side, and that has helped me a lot. Thirdly, even I think 10 plus years into practice, I still go back to viewing or like seeing some webinars which are for my professional growth. Again, that has also helped me develop my practice, starting off with REBT, like pure REBT, but then inculcating other aspects or other schools of psychology, like say some bit of MAC, which is mindfulness, acceptance, commitment. I think that has also helped me integrate
Mm-hmm.
many other approaches into my practice, which has helped
Mm-hmm.
again dealing with different kinds of athletes from all parts of the country. One more thing I feel, be open to, not just get into individual practice. There's a lot other things happening in the field of sports psychology. It's not just dealing with athletes one on one. I think something that I have really, taken my interest into is developing the right kind of protocols for the system, which has
Right.
been very interesting for me. I think, unless and
Mm-hmm.
until you set the good protocols from a sports psychology perspective with the organization you're working with, you're not going to
Mm-hmm.
deliver what you want to deliver. So it's
Right.
ecosystem development. So, be open to different roles. It's
Mm-hmm.
not just one thing that you need to do. That
Right.
has helped me just expand my horizons a bit. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I think lastly, and something which maybe many people talk about, but implementation gets tricky, is research. We
Mm-hmm.
are a country with slightly dearth of research. We rely a lot on Western literature at the moment when it comes to psychology as well. There is a lot of Indian literature which makes a lot of sense in human kind, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
But I think writing is very important. And something what has helped me write not only for like blog purposes is but having a kind of reflection log process that I have been following for some time now. So reflecting on sessions, reflecting on what I did in the month,
Mm-hmm.
writing something around that, and trying to
Mm-hmm.
publish some kind of blogs as well on that. I think that definitely carries a lot of inner reflections within yourself as well, because that's also very important. So yes, research and writing, I think that can also
Mm-hmm.
be of utmost important when it comes to professional development. Yeah,
Right, correct. So just a quick question before we move forward to the
sure.
main section. Where can we access your writing so that,
Okay,
you know,
so I have a
we can reach?
Substack which I try to keep updated. I will share that with you. It's just called
Sure.
Varadayini Substack, I think. So I will definitely
Uh-huh.
share the link with you, and maybe you can post it. Yeah, yeah,
Yes, absolutely. I would be happy to post it. And I
great.
think we can stay in touch, as to kind of continue this for the
Oh yeah,
professionals as well. Isn't
for
it?
sure.
Great,
Yes.
great. Okay, we are talking about challenges, we're talking about how to build a career, but I'm pretty sure that there are some extreme interesting experiences as well. Uh,
Yeah.
just like any other psychology field. Would you
Yes.
like to share, sir?
Oh, surely. So, worked with quite a few high performance teams as well. And like, like I said earlier, like we go with that intention of, oh, we're going to work with a high performance team. It's going to be great and so on. But I think a few of these experiences, like I said, changed. And I'm not talking from a very serious perspective, but then, you kind of take a hard look at what exactly is happening in the field as well, right? So I was working with a high performance center at I'll not name it, but then I was pregnant at that time, so it was my time,
Mm-hmm.
and I started working, and like it was 8 months down, and then I discovered I'm pregnant. So I think when I was in my sixth month and so on, like again, this is I never expected this, that the HOD, or like the high performance director HOD, will tell me that, oh, you know what, either you continue after your pregnancy or you can leave. Yeah. So that is, so again, then it kind of helped to me take a harder look at the whole system per se. Being a woman in the field of sports psychology and sports per se is
Mm-hmm.
not, I mean, it's a very big challenge. I mean, he specifically told me that, when you are leaving, employ someone, or like recommend someone who's a male, so that we don't get to go through these challenges. So again, it's something which, again, not on a serious note, but then it's something which, you take reflect back and think that, okay, none of these things actually matter in the sports field as well. Like, you don't get a 6 month maternity leave, kuch nahi tha
Mm-hmm.
usme. So like,
True,
and then you're
true.
like, okay, fine. Like, that's how it is. And then I said, no, I'm going to leave and I'm going to do something by myself. I can't. Yeah. So that's how, I think these are small instances which make you take a harder look at what I just told you about protocols. I
Mm-hmm.
think that also was one of the things that helped me put certain protocols with the academies that I was working with as well. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that was one I won't say like a very funny incident, but something which actually changed my trajectory as well into the career that I am currently in. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right, great. Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm kind of, because I'm thinking that, this is probably one, sort of like an experience that, as you said, not only as a psychology professional, as in sports field, and because you're a woman, right? It's like a trifecta of all those
Yeah.
things that's coming
Yeah, I mean, you
together
can't
that just opens
change.
your eyes.
Exactly.
And
And
you
then
can carry, in your mind saying that, oh, I'm going to work in this and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. But then it's the reality. I mean,
yeah,
let's be clear that
exactly.
I think uh, we are we should be mindful and we should know that these things can still happen. So,
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure before joining that high performance center, I wasn't thinking through, will I get a maternity leave? Because, and then later on, I'm like, okay, whoever I suggest go to an HPC, and I said, okay, if you're planning to get pregnant, make sure you get a 6 month notice in your contract, otherwise, yeah,
yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. We have to be
yeah,
mindful about that.
yeah.
Great. Okay, so I would like to open up the session for Q&A if we can, and we have maybe a few more questions on the
Sure.
list, but let's see if our audience would like to kind of interact with you directly. So, if you would like to interact or ask any question, there are two options. Either you can write it in the chat box so that we can read it out and Batani can answer the question, or the second option would be is that you can either raise your hand in the meeting or let us know that you have a question and you can directly interact with Vatari. So just give me 1 second. So and while you're asking the question, of course, you can put on your video and ask the question. So go ahead and let us know if you have any query. This has been an interesting, I think, discussion because um, we set it out to kind of with that mindset, as I said, that to understand the field, what
Yeah,
information you need to understand about the field. But these
yeah,
challenges and this experience in the field, I think, really helps. It makes a difference because you can Google what training institutes are there. You can Google, what
sure.
opportunities are there. But as you said, that glorified, image or at times that information is not going to be enough unless we know, somebody who has worked in the field and how that goes for them.
Definitely. Yeah. And I think really kudos to you, Trupti, because I think this is an interesting platform to actually discuss these things and put it out there, because I think it's important to have the right content on social media at the moment. So it's this is
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
This is great work.
Thank you so much. And I think it's exactly with that intention. And we are really thankful for all the professional and experts who are agreeing to be on this session, on this series, because it takes a lot to kind of, I mean, I know that you're involved in shaping and developing the
Yeah,
field, but we're really glad that, we can interact with you, coordinate with you, and, help you reach out maybe more professionals out there.
sure.
Right? Okay, so still the participants think of any question for the questions. I have maybe, oh, there is a question. Just give me 1 second. Right. So Chandni has asked, what are the overlaps between sports psychology and other specialization, the basic theories, etc.?
Okay. I think let me just gather myself here. But I think if I'm not wrong, we take a lot from different approaches or different specializations closely linked to social psychology. One is, and I'm purely talking from a psychology perspective because there's also overlaps with sports science and neuroscience. So that's completely separate. But in psychology, we do have overlaps in social psychology mainly, and also closely related to industrial organizational psychology to a very good extent, because again, working with teams, working with groups, leadership management, and so on. So that's definitely there is an overlap there. And of course, from the main, I would say skeleton of practice, it's always counseling psychology. So there's a lot that happens from a counseling perspective because you are working with athletes or like even sometimes coaches one on one. So there is a lot that comes from the counseling psychology background also. But I think these three are something which I would say integrated practice into like sports psychology. Some knowledge of course, abnormal clinical psychology is always good because you would know your competence then. There is something where where you draw the boundary and then you refer out the athlete to say a psychiatrist or a clinical psychologist whenever need be. And for that, it's always good to know certain signs and symptoms wherein you feel that okay, might as well do something about it rather than taking on the case, right? So yeah, I think overlap definitely social psychology, industrial organizational, and counseling. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Yeah, Chandni has also commented saying, great, thank you. All right. So I think this also comes from a sort of like series of maybe myths, or you could say, facts about the field that we wanted to clarify with you,
Yeah.
right? And I think few of them we have already spoken about in terms of sports psychology, not having scope, or
Mm-hmm.
sports psychology is about working with, athletes and, at a very high profile clients, right?
Yeah.
We have been kind of understanding that a little bit. But I have few maybe more, maybe myths and facts, we could say, or
Yeah.
maybe few you could say points to understand about sports psychology, if you don't mind me asking them.
Sure.
Would you go
Sure.
ahead with
Sure.
that?
Trupti. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So first of all, I think one question commonly comes is that sports psychology is only meant for athletes or coaches or people, sports persons who are struggling with their mental health.
Hmm. Yeah. No, of course, it's a very big myth that whenever you have an issue, you come to a psychologist or a sports psychologist. Not the fact. We work with everyone. We work with all the athletes to develop, certain, I would say, performance-related work, or performance-related parameters. Sorry, can you hear some disturbance? Just give me a
That's
second.
all right. No worries.
All right. Yeah. So that's related to that. So performance enhancement is usually the goal for most of the athletes or the coaches, which doesn't require to have like problems per se, right? So it's not like mental health is you've gone down on mental health. That's when you go to a sports psychologist. In fact, that's when we refer you to someone who's more professionally trained, at
Hmm.
times, right? So I would say sports psychology has two branches. One is performance enhancement, which kind of has 75% of whatever we do. And then the
Hmm.
25% is to do with mental wellness or like, development or like, proactively work on, say, dealing with pressure and dealing with the stress. Okay, but
Hmm.
then again, that's how the balance is. So mainly performance enhancement and mental skills training, as we call it. That's
Hmm.
the major chunk of what we work on. So yes, you don't have to have a problem to approach a psychologist or a sports psychologist. Yeah.
Right, makes sense. So it's more preventive rather than just remedial, I
Yes,
believe,
definitely. Most
right?
of the times it's preventive. Although I think, of
Mhm.
course, in therapy sessions, you definitely will come across, certain challenges that the athlete is facing and so on. That's a part and parcel of, I guess, how we work in the therapy as well, right? Like,
Mhm. Mhm.
of course, you'll have athletes who have lack of confidence or they're low on motivation sometimes, which is not a problem per se, as they call it. It's just a part and parcel of how you are as an athlete, right? So yeah. Yeah.
Right, great. Okay, so then following that up with this question as to thinking that it's a quick fix. So it's like you go to a sports psychologist when you're struggling and
Yeah.
it will be quickly taken care of.
Yeah, yeah. In fact, many of the athletes come with that intention, saying that let's I have my tournaments coming up. I need to do something about it and give me some tips that I can help myself through this tournament. And then I think I have to educate, especially the athlete and the parent, saying that okay, this is not what it is.
Mhm.
And over the time, what I have tried to do is I end up not taking clients just before the tournaments. I ask them to come and see me after the tournaments for a very simple reason that you might just feel very good after the first session. Yes, that's a feeling good thing, throughout after the first session, but it doesn't last. It's not. It's like that, that first it's your first gym session. You do the gym workout and you feel nice,
Mm.
right? But that doesn't mean that you're not going to go the next day and you're not going to continue, because that's not how your body works. It's the same with the mind. So yes, it's not a quick fix. It's not like we give you a pill or like a magic wand that says that okay,
Mhm.
you're gonna have great confidence tomorrow's match, and then that's it. But unfortunately, a lot of athletes come with that intention, and then again, we have to help them through that education or awareness, which is which takes up a lot of the initial session as well. Yeah.
Right, right. I think that's a struggle with psychotherapy as well at times. That I think in generally is looked
Yeah.
at quick fix. But as you're saying, I think it's a not a long process. I would say this is a thorough and integral journey throughout, rather
Definitely.
than
Yeah,
crisis
and
intervention.
yeah, exactly. And it's more of like self-reflection, self-awareness, and regulation, I would say. Self-regulation more so. That how do
Mm-hmm,
you
mm-hmm.
regulate yourself when you are under pressure? How do
Right.
you regulate your emotions, your thought processes? How do you manage the pressure? So
Mm-hmm,
it's just about that, and that doesn't take like just one session. It will take a lot of self, growth or like self reflections and practicing homeworks and so on.
mm-hmm,
That happens.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Uh, okay, so this I think brings to a very interesting point that we saw. I think you also shared it with us. Positive thinking versus productive thinking. Would you like to comment on
Mm. Oh, definitely. And I think I would say this is linked to, a lot of lingo that goes on in sports as well. Like you need
that?
to think
Mm-hmm,
positive, you need to be there and so on. And yeah, that's something what, I've also been quite debating on with my athletes too at times, because yes, positive thinking does help, but it helps you only possibly just come out of something which you are being negatively ruminating about. But what actually helps the athlete is thinking about something which is more actionable in nature. So even if I tell myself, oh come on, focus now, just get back, so I'm thinking positively, but then get back to what is the next question, which I always tell the athlete to
mm-hmm,
ask. Okay, because focusing on what is also something what they need to know. Okay, it's not just focus, but because just talking about keep calm, focus, it just
mm-hmm,
possibly sometimes just builds up pressure. But
right.
then saying that okay, I need to just focus on my next serve. If I'm saying that,
Mm-hmm,
then I am
mm-hmm,
telling that my to myself that, okay, what matters right now is just how I serve the next serve, nothing else matters. So, that
Right.
productive thinking as, or like what we call as informational self-talk, like, what kind of information you're giving yourself. I think that is a possible
Hmm.
game changer, not just positive affirmations or thought processes. Yeah.
Right, great. And that's very interesting because I think that can be applied to probably other individuals also that we work in therapy as well.
Mhm.
That it's the productivity that you're focusing on at that time rather than
Yeah.
the quality, the you could say the quality of the thing. Like is it whether it's positive or negative? It's what
Yes.
you're focusing on, the what of
Yes.
it. Right, great. Okay, so I think I'm not sure if this is the same question, but I'm going to maybe combine two questions for you. Sports psychology is only for sports persons or athletes. And also I'm kind of thinking that you're consciously kind of your consulting is called performance management. So sports
Yeah.
psychology versus performance psychology or performance management.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah, I think, yes, like I answered before, I think a lot is to do with performance enhancement. But I think
mm,
sports, like you said, sports athletes, yes, definitely. But I've also been working with some corporates as well, because I think this
mhm,
somewhere levels up to, like, having like a champion's mindset and so on. So, all that kind of comes even in like a high performance setup, like say, some, maybe I'll give you one example, like of a sales team that I had, like, a 2 day workshop with. But
mm,
coming all from, like, from a sports perspective, saying that what an athlete does and how does a team work, or how does a sport team work, and so on. So yes, performance
right.
enhancement or performance management, I would say that would be like one part of what we do. Okay.
Mm,
And also from the other perspective, saying when you manage the performance, it's also to do with your mental health, or mental health, or like mental skills. So, those, I
right.
would say, those are like two pies of like that whole performance
Mm,
management bit as well.
mm.
Yeah.
Right, great. Glad to hear that. Okay, so very interesting conversation. Just as a final question for you, is there anything you would like to add to this, or is there anything you would like to say to our audience?
More like a summary, I would say. And I would say, like, like I said earlier, I think the field is just developing, it's growing. It's good to
Mm,
see so many young, I would say, athletes who want to get into sports psychology and become sports psychologists. It's really nice to see that as well. I think one thing what I just want to, possibly summarize also this discussion with is stick to, the right pathway when it comes to education, and also continued education, and, like, just empowering yourself as a sports psychologist through the right knowledge. And by right knowledge, I mean, I think some kind of evidence based practice rooted in, culturally relevant stuff as well. I hope, like I said, I hope we have more culturally relevant practices that come by in the next decade or so. But yeah, root yourself into that, because I see, as sports psychologists and being with athletes, there's a lot of pep and pop, talk that happens, saying that, oh, you need to
mm,
visualize, or you need to do this and that. So there's, a lot happening from a pedestal, saying ki ye karna hai, wo karna hai. So that, what we call in Hindi as giving gyan. Like,
mm,
there's a lot of that happening, and I'm sure that's happening in the mental health space as well. But I see this a lot because, a lot of athletes also want quick solutions. They're like, okay, we have no time, we just want something like that. So that, I don't think that's, very long lasting. It's not something what, like you rightly mentioned earlier, it's not like a part of the whole journey which will
mm,
help you. So, I think that's very important for all the sports psychologists or in training, or, who want to become sports psychologists, to understand the field is not quick. It is quick, but you don't have to be quick. That's all I
right.
think you have to say, and, focus more on your educative growth. That's very important.
Mm, mm. Thank you so much for this. And it's been a great learning for me as well today because I think I was also new to sports psychology in general. I think we were not exposed with the field. And hearing these things from you, I think has given me also a perspective. It's been helpful to kind of, understand this. And I believe this would be helpful for me to kind of, uh, give the knowledge to my students as well and other professionals as well.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for being on today's episode.